Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Developer Solo Dev Roundtable. I am Vin Hill, indie developer. We're all indie developers today, but I'm joined as ever by Christopher Jarvis,
Hello.
as well as Sam Webster.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody. That's definitely an intro. But yeah, so if you're new here, then welcome. This is episode 3 of the Indie Dev Roundtable, which is basically sort of a check-in podcast that we do once a month where we show off what we've been doing over the past month for our indie games, or what we haven't been doing, and what we plan to do for the next coming month. So yeah, that's basically it, right? So we're gonna jump right in, I guess. Like, have we got anything that you want to share before we dive into each other's projects?
Just a congratulations, Vin, on your little few thousand or so Twitter views on your Om Nom Nom zombie character. There might be some viewers here off the back of that Twitter experience alone. So
yeah,
if you're new,
who would have thought that pixel art zombies eating people would do so well on Twitter? But yeah, I don't know what happened, honestly. Like, I posted up a video of one of my little bits from the game that I'm working on, and then it just, like, the algorithm caught it for some reason, and it just took off. But I have no idea why. But it was nice. Like, it was nice to see it. Like, I don't let that stuff go to my head too much, because I've been down that road before, like with the Assassin's Creed Japan stuff, like back in 2015. Like, and like it definitely helps, but it's not the end all be all. Like, I still have to make a game. So yeah, I'm trying to keep my head out of the clouds on that one.
yeah. Well, I really enjoyed the animation on it. I thought the animation was really like solid, like the timing and the weighting that the zombies got, and you definitely have been looking at your animation principles and implementing them. I think that's why.
Yeah,
Flail was a nice.
Yeah, it's nice to finally get that stuff in to just make it look good. It was like I mentioned on the last episode, I think, just how like much people don't care about certain things when it comes to indie development, and just like I've just been sat in this grey box because like I'm very conscious, like, as someone that is an artist in the games industry, I don't, when I'm working on my own stuff, I try not to focus on what stuff looks like as much, like, compared to, like, it has to work before it looks pretty sort of thing. Like, I constantly hammer that home for myself, because otherwise I just get caught in these loops where I'm just trying to make stuff look good, and I sort of forget about the game design aspect of everything. So I try to keep that at the forefront of my mind. But like, now that I'm sort of transferring into this part, like, okay, I need to start making this vertical slice look a little bit prettier. Like, people are responding to it, which is great, but we'll see how it goes. Like, who knows, right?
It's a grey area, isn't it? Because you've also got to drum up your own marketing if you're doing it in indie dev, like solo, publishing. And so, making it look pretty is important at the earlier stages, more so than a studio like Ubisoft, I imagine, because there's marketing departments for that sort of stuff. So it's a weird line I found, that's like, how much do I make it pretty so I get some views to start drumming up some interest, and how much do I focus on the core mechanics? And if everything was grey box for like the first half of the development cycle, you wouldn't get much media interest, would you?
Yeah, this is literally why most games aren't ever like announced too early, for that reason. Because, like, contrary to like anyone's belief, like when it comes to like games development, a game looks like absolute garbage for about 80% of development. And like, even when you start putting assets in and making it look good, like, there's no anti-aliasing stuff included, there's no filter effects, there's no like cool stuff like motion blur and all that, and like none of that is in until like pretty much near the end. So like, people are like, oh, you get to play the games early and all that sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, you don't want to play the games early, like running at 12 FPS, like with no like filtering on, all anti-aliasing, and just everything breaks every 5 minutes. Like, it's just that is the reality of it. So it's kind of hard, but it's nice for indie developers to be able to do that as early as possible as well, I guess. But I'm still in this weird point, like, I still don't know if the game is going to be like, if I'm going to go ahead with the game anyway, like, until the vertical slice is sort of done. So that's why I've not really been bigging up the imagery too much on it, but who knows?
Because your core mechanics are still in flux at the moment, aren't they? Because you're still trying to nail that down and get that.
Yeah.
So when you say you don't know if the game is going ahead, is that to say you might still switch direction or bin that project and start something else?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I'm very because I've been down this road a few times. Like I've started working on a few games like in the past, and like sometimes you get 20% into it, and you just like as soon as you get that control in your hand for the first time after a vertical slice or something that is tangible and like, okay, this is the game, and I'm getting a good grasp of what this is now. Sometimes you pick up that control that first time, and when you get into it, you're like, wow, this is not fun. Like I'm not enjoying this. This isn't good. And you've got to like be prepared to cut that cord and be like, all right, let's move on to something else. And just because if you go down that road too far, like you might just be stuck on that project for like 2 years, and it's literally wasting your life by doing that. So it's sort of like I try to keep as realistic about that as possible, and I've done that a few times. Like sometimes the opposite works as well. So like you'll be working on something and something will work out really good, and you're like, oh crap, this is a bit too good. I don't think I'm at the right skill level to actually tackle this yet. So I'm gonna put this to one side for now and just focus on something else to build up my skill levels and stuff like that. So then you have like I've got a couple of projects like that where I'm like, okay, this could be good, but I don't think I've got enough resources or time or energy to actually do this at the moment. So like it happens all the time, but.
Does this fall under the fail faster principle? Not only what you've just said about being able to bin it, but also the grey boxing.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's just about because when you're making a game, when you're like that early into production anyway, like you want to get as many sort of core elements of your game into that prototype as quickly as humanly possible. So that's why I always tell people like make sure it works where it looks pretty, because you might be working on a really nice animation, like. For what, not to like go against what you've already done, Sam, because you've actually done the right thing where you should always make your main character sprite if you're working on a pixel art game anyway. You should work on all them animations so you've got the character walking around in a grey box. But like when it comes to environment stuff, like avoid that as long as possible, because you might just cut out whole areas of your game, or you might cut out certain aspects. Like if you're working too much on UI and stuff, and then you decide to completely change the UI later on, like you're just wasting work. So like work smart, not hard in that respect. Like try and focus down as much as you possibly can so you can get to that point where you can get the controller in your hand and actually play the game. So, and if that means a vertical slice or in a grey box or whatever, like that's what the goal should be. It's not really to finish the game at that point. Like you've just got to work in them milestones. But I've certainly annoyed people in the past, like working like at studio milestones mindset, which can be dangerous, I guess, for some people. But like for me, it really helps. I think it just keeps me focused on certain things, and that's why I'm able to iterate as quickly as I can, because it just means that I'm going for short-term goals rather than like just trying to get to the end constantly, because that's a lot of people waste time by just getting caught in them loops a lot of the time.
Well, you're working much closer to sprints and the agile methodology than anything else.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess that's just from working in a studio, and I just see how well it works. You know, like that's the thing. Like people, like the machine of a studio is just completely different to anything to do with indie. But like you can take certain aspects, like using agile boards or Trello boards like Aslan, you can use that sort of tracking system. Even if you're a solo developer, using Trello is just it helps out a lot just to prioritize. Yeah, just to prioritize tasks as well is just as important for me anyway, to be able to say, okay, this is really important, I need to get this done first before anything else, and then that actually conflicts with something else which is down here, so I need to move that up as well. And just being able to organize yourself like that, I think it's a thing that a lot of indie developers miss, because they think, oh, it's just me, it doesn't matter, like I don't have to track what I'm doing, right? Like I just need to make.
It's not about organizing or managing a team all of the time. Sometimes it's about the psychology. So if you look at the thing of, I'm going to make a game, that is a massive goddamn undertaking. But if you can start bringing in Trello and sprints, you can start to break that down into small achievable goals. And then those small achievable goals quickly add up. And suddenly, holy shit, I've got a game.
You step back and you're like, oh my God, I did all this. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, totally. I went down a rabbit hole the other day. I spent way too long doing a particle effect. And but before I even started, I know I didn't need to dial it in, because I know that the enemy for the particle effect goes at different speeds in different levels, because the level's already been designed. And I know that the enemies aren't going to be going at one constant speed, but yet still couldn't hold myself from trying to dial in this particle effect, like the amount of the emission just right, so that the tail goes perfectly, and it's like I don't need to be doing this right now. I need to fix my bugs and I need to get my character controller working. Like that's what I need to do. I've been there. So yeah, I could have done with that. But yeah, there we go.
It's I think it's something that everyone learns. Like because everyone's got a different style to how they make a game as well. Like some people despise Trello and like all of it's like they don't like any tracking systems whatsoever because it turns into like this. It destroys creativity, right? Like that's the sort of thing that people avoid about it. But for me, I think it just makes me flourish because if you just give me an open field and like, all right, go. I'm just like, I don't know which way to go. Sort of thing. Like this is too many options. But if you give me like a task to do, I will sit there and I will do it like as quickly as humanly possible and I'll bang it out. So if I set myself tasks, then I'll be able to chip through them and actually hit my milestones. But it's also good when you hit that sort of milestone because that is an achievement in and of itself. Like whereas everyone else that doesn't use that sort of system and they just trying to finish a game.
Achievements until they finish. And if they don't finish the game, then it's all
Right. And there's something about restriction actually breeding creativity and also defining when done is done. So, in my day jobs, I have worked on stuff that actually, you know what, we're doing this for whatever, and it's going to be an evergreen project, and there's no hard dates. And I've also worked on stuff where it's like, well, there is a legal or regulatory requirement for this to go out on this date. We have to hit this date, or you know what, the money runs out on this date, so that's what we're budgeted for. That's what the client has paid us for. So that's as much as we're working for, unless they want to pay us more, which they don't. And in the former situation, people will be like, is it apply caution, display caution, or show care? Which of those three options we want to go to doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. Right. Whereas in the other scenario, people are like, the message is fine, the context is fine, this needs to go out tomorrow. Whereas the first guy would be like, I might just run this by Bill as well, see what Bill thinks, get Bill's opinion on it. He might have another view. Every time you see it, you're going to see something new and you're going to change and tweak and fiddle with something new, right? Yeah. Whereas in the other scenario, you're like, okay, we take that point on board. Is that a showstopper because this needs to go out tomorrow and there's no two ways about it? Are we going to, pull the whole thing for one sentence? No? Yeah. Okay, great. We're going.
The way I get that is my workaround for that, because I don't have any time limit, I don't set myself goals particularly, is I just aim for 80%.
Right.
And if it hits that milestone, then I move on. So if it hits 80%, then I just move on to the next thing.
That is surprisingly industry standard. Coincidentally.
Yeah. And that helps me change tasks, move directions, and it keeps things fresh, keeps things I don't get bogged down with anything, so it's more enjoyable. When I have slogged at something and tried to get to a certain amount, then it's always felt more like a chore than fun. And one of the things I wanted to do about this was to see if being a solo indie dev could be fun. And so it's trial and error. It's my first game, but I found that aiming for 80% works for me.
I mean, it happens to me all the time. Like, and you'll probably hit this soon as well, Sam, when you start implementing stuff into your game. But like, you'll get 80% and some's like, okay, it's working enough. Like, I know there's a couple of bugs, I'll get to them later, sort of thing. Yeah. It's just like, it's dangerous, but like at the same time, it's a good thing to do because you need to move on to the next thing so you can just get to the point where something is tangible, like as quickly as possible. But
because the thing that's 80% might get trashed. Exactly. Another iteration down the line,
and all that 20% of time. All that 20% of polish that you could have done, like that stuff adds up. And so for every 5 tasks that you've done, you've actually gained an extra task, which like we're basically, promoting making bugs
shortcuts,
right, and shortcuts. But don't do that. Like you should be efficient, but at the same time, you should put effort in.
There's also another polish trap. And this is something that I bizarrely see a lot in both the RPG Maker community and the indie comics community.
Right.
Is someone will get to like page 20 of their comic, and they'll go, "Oh, I've really improved. I'm going to redraw page 1." And then by the time they get back to page 20, they've improved again. So they go back to page 1 again. It's like, mate,
so they should do 1, 20, 2, 19, 3, 18, and then that's
not
how
actually
they should
a
do it.
bad way of doing it.
Yeah,
because eventually you're going to
joke,
get down
it's-
to doing just one page, and then you'll do the second page, and then the third, and then you just that'll work.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe. Yeah, it's just about like I think with games anyway. Like that's why another reason why I put off the visual side of stuff, because you are constantly improving, and every time you come up with a new system or you come up with something that's like streamlined something, it's like, oh, now I need to go back and redo it all, and you just go in these loops of making stuff look pretty over and over again. That's the good thing about working in a grey box. It's always a grey box, and you're just like you're coding, and you're just like, haha.
never get distracted
exactly
by pretty things. Yeah,
which is always good.
That's interesting. Well, should we have a look? Should we have a look at it?
Sure,
Yeah.
Show us the money.
Show us the money. Yeah, so I can show you my screen. I can go into what I've been up to. If I can figure it out. Ooh. Yep, okay.
So do we want to do it for people that might be new? Do you just want to give a quick recap on what your game is, like in the elevator pitch?
Sure, yeah. So it is a 2.5D sort of point and click adventure game, but I'm designing it based around a controller rather than a mouse, which is the normal sort of way to go around point and click adventure games. But you can still play with a mouse and keyboard, obviously. But yeah, it's set in a post-apocalyptic landscape. It's this sort of 2D looking texture stuff with sprite animations, but it's all set in a 3D world. I can actually just show you the game. That'll be the easier thing to do. Which is this. Yay!
Wow.
It's got a background now as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically it. Like you're picking up items and you're trying to solve puzzles, and just you walk through. I think you go through 2.5 houses, I guess, like on the other side of this door, and it's just about you trying to get to the other end. That's basically the game. Super simple, straightforward, but yeah, it's proven challenging. That's for sure.
Wow. This looks great. Yeah, there's improvement on last time. So you can still see the remnants of what you're talking about, grey boxes, where you haven't got the texture for like the porch and stuff, but you have done the...
my QB cars in the background, which aren't actually cars yet whatsoever. But they will be cars eventually.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
you got those in the background. That's new.
Yeah, the main.
But you did do the fence and redone the fence as well, haven't you? So you've redone old stuff as well. So we've all been there. We've all done it.
Oh, he's gone back to page 1.
Nah, I didn't redo the fence. I've moved like some of the panels around to make it look like it's a bit more messed up.
Okay.
But the main thing which I was working on, I guess, was I redid like to start off with the back end stuff because it's not like as flashy or as impressive. But the old system which I had for item selection was this sort of outline thing, which whenever I was hovering over something, it would come up with this outline. And I'm still going to have that for openables. Like, so you can open a door or a chest or a drawer or something, and still going to have that outline because I just think it portrays something a bit more interactive almost. But for items itself, like I decided to come up with a new system. So I came up with a new dot system instead of all the items being highlighted, because as soon as I did this, where I was like next to a load of objects,
they're quite small.
They're quite small, and it also just turned into noise as well. So like whenever there was outlines around stuff, everything just looked like a little bit of a blob, and it was like, yeah, this isn't really that readable. So I came up with this sort of dot system, which everything that's close to the player that they can actually pick up, it's in grey, and anything that is sort of the focus is like the white dot, and I can toggle between them as well, which is sort of dynamic as well. So whenever you're near anything, it always works.
And you're going to assign that to like the controller, like the right joystick or something?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do it to the joystick or if I want to do it to the triggers yet, but either way, I think it'll be really easy for the character to just, like, you'll be able to walk over with the character and they'll just be automatically be able to like flick between the different items without having to, because the thing that I'm trying to avoid is, cause I remember when I was playing a game, I was playing Destiny, that was it, and they've got like the PC mouse in game on the controller, and you have to like move the thing around. They still have the up and down stuff, so you can actually go through menus and stuff, but mainly to get around, you use this on controller mouse, and I hate that. Like, it annoys the hell out of me. I just do not find it enjoyable. Like, it's great on PC, but like for consoles, it's never felt right ever, and I've never liked it. So I wanted to avoid that, and that's mostly what I've been trying to get my head around. over this past month, like over the holidays, like was working on this UI system so he can actually just, push stuff and look at it and take it like without having to use a mouse, which is one of the main things. But yeah, that was one of the biggest things which I should try to sort out, but I figured it out now. But I can take his gun. Yay! It's mine. Running away. Yeah, so obviously the background, it's got a parallax on it as well.
So the clouds moving across at the minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. Didn't notice that.
Which I can actually show you how that works. If I can get it working again. Nope. That was the wrong button. I'll get there eventually. Nope, still the wrong button. God. I can make games, but I can't play them apparently. Story of my life. Almost there. Okay. Oh yeah, my background's hidden. That's why you couldn't see any of it. Okay, there we go. So
I've got a picture of clouds.
Yeah, so it literally
got...
I made a script which basically just scrolls them at a certain speed, and then when it gets to a certain point, it just basically repeats over and over again.
Oh, very cool.
And I can make that like super quick and it look absolutely ridiculous in game. Like, oh my god, what's happening in the background? But yeah,
there's like a big dust cloud coming. Oh, that's cool. I like that. It's nice.
But yeah, the actual houses though, they're all just photos at the moment, which they're just placeholders for now. I'm going to replace these with like pixel art stuff, but you can barely see it in game anyway because they're all sort of faded out. Like they work for the time being, which is all I really care about.
It gives the optical illusion, and that's really all it needs to do.
Yeah, I think so. Like for the slice, like this is enough. Like I could sit there and noodle at like pixel art houses for like a week, but I really like the conversation that we were having earlier. I just don't think it's worth the effort and time right now. I think this is good enough for the purposes that it sort of portrays. But they've got parallax on them as well, so they actually like they shift and they move in the background, so like it gives some depth. And I think once these cars are in there properly and they're all wrecked and like crashed into stuff and like overgrowing and all that sort of good stuff, I think it'll look good by itself. But yeah, I guess like the other thing which I sort of figured out, which I really, really wanted to get my head around this month more than anything, was cutscenes, and trying to figure out like how to trigger cutscenes that remove control from the player, and then something plays, and then you get control back to the player without.
Yeah, and this is with the Unity events. Is that right? You're doing it via events?
Yeah, I'm doing it through. It's something called a timeline, which is the sort of built-in sort of cutscene maker for Unity, I guess. And I finally got my head around this.
You gave us a brief look at this last time. You said it's got trigger points that you can walk into, and it'll play specific animations.
Yeah,
there's one near a fence that you showed us.
Yeah, that was the one that I was gonna show you. But like for my zombie guy here, if I come into this collision box, then it'll basically trigger a timeline event, which is, I can probably show you. Here it is. So it's all the other stuff. Which sort of interacts with it. So the player, the actual thing, and what actually happens when I step into this box, like the zombie grabs him and eats him, obviously, because that's what zombies do, I guess. But like, it's not only does the animation players have to turn off the player sprite completely because it's a separate animation, but it has to all happen seamlessly as well. So it has to look like the zombie is just grabbing the player and the player sprite is doing it. But what actually happens is, as the player comes into contact with this box, it turns off the player completely, and then it plays an animation, and then it returns the player back to state after, which sounds complicated, but it's actually a much more elegant and easier way to sort of handle it.
Because then you're not manipulating the player object, which would involve so much more. Instead, you've just got this static object to show the one animation.
Exactly. Oh,
yeah.
Now my timeline has messed up my player character. This keeps happening. This is a bug in Unity, by the way, which is really annoying.
What is that that's happening?
Sometimes it turns off the player character whenever I'm in timeline, which is annoying as hell. But yeah, to sort of choose on my face.
That's very satisfying. And I love how the zombies actually infect in the environment as well. You've got the animation going on the actual fence.
Right, that was another thing that I once sought out was... because that's the good thing about timeline as well. You can attach anything to it. So you can attach 3D objects, sprites, animations, all that sort of stuff. So like I've set up this thing so when I'm in range of the zombie, like he starts doing his crazy thing, and when he does that, the fence is also shaking. They're two separate animations, but in timeline you can sort of group them together, which is great.
Trigger them at the same time.
Yeah, so it kind of breaks up seamlessly. But,
oh wow.
But yeah, it's great. The only thing, like the other thing which I did was a back end thing for ready for the future, which I shouldn't have really spent too much time on, but I did. Was I wanted to set up a system where if you came into contact with an area or you triggered a cutscene, like I also wanted a system where the player could walk like automatically to the point ready for where the cutscene is going to start. Because if you trigger the cutscene from anywhere in the map, for example, if you're using an item on something else from a distance and I want a cutscene to play, then I have to move the character to that location for the cutscene to start. And
you need some pathfinding or something to get in there.
Yeah, which thankfully I already had sort of half set up anyway because of the navigation, the nav mesh which I've already got set up. And I've actually got the player character as an agent already, so I was able to sort of play with this and figure it out. I can sort of demonstrate it in a certain way, in a weird way anyway. But like this obviously wouldn't be a use case, but it works well enough. So I've got this cube on the second floor of the house, and I've set it up so it's pretty dynamic as well, so I can set this up so to say, okay, if I come into contact with the zombie, this obviously wouldn't be in the game. This is just like to show the mechanic.
Yeah. If you touch a zombie, automatically walk to a cube.
Right, like on the second floor of this house, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
just like in real life.
But like what is actually set up now is that now that I've just hooked up that cube into the animation, I also need to debug open this door so he can actually walk through it. What he's going to do is actually walk to that spot. And then once he gets there, the animation is going to play of him getting his face chewed off. So he's probably going to disappear wherever we are, and then it'll return thing to me anyway. So he's just going to walk like I'm not doing any of this.
Moonwalking.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson style.
I still need to hook up like animations and stuff to it, but like the fact that he's just doing this automatically, and when he gets to the cube, he's gonna disappear, and now he's actually playing the animation of like getting eaten by the zombie.
Now he's getting eaten.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's returned.
Cool.
Now it's returned back to me. So I was able to set that up. So that's gonna like actually help me out a lot, because like when I can, like in point and click adventure games, when you take something out of your bag and you're holding it and you're like, okay, what can I use this on? If I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this item, I'm not going to give away the puzzle, because like I've done like a load of animation stuff which I can't show because it gives away, it ruins the puzzle, and I want you guys to play it like at some point anyway to get feedback from you. But like if you use said item on zombie, like then he has to move to the zombie, and then the animation plays of him killing the zombie in whatever way. So it's it's mostly to be set up for that.
Is that script modular? Can you give it the transform of any game object?
Exactly, and I can do it anywhere in the map, and as long as he can get there physically through the nav mesh, then it's more than fine. But I think I'm going to restrict it to you have to be in the right room in order
the right
for
house or something.
Yeah,
in the right room. Okay, yeah.
Because like the way that I've got it set up right now, like this, like the gun that I've got down there, like I can't actually see how it doesn't let me do anything anymore. Like but the second I go outside, like it allows me. So I've already restricted all the items, so they can't actually be interacted with unless you're in the same room as them anyway. So it just removes that ability from the player anyway. So it was mostly trying to figure that out. So I might do the same thing with the animation stuff. So you can only trigger a certain animation or interact with a certain thing. But there's a load of things I can do with timeline now, which is great. Like I'm really excited because I've already got like a stuff set up for like if there's something on the floor, like the bullets here, like instead of just going straight to the screen to sort of interact with the bullet, like I'm gonna have him like duck down real quick as if he's like looking at it, and it's only going to be like a split second sort of thing. So it won't. I don't want it to be like Red Dead Redemption 2, where he's just like slowly opening cabinets and slowly going. It's annoying as hell, right? Like I still want it to be quite snappy.
Snappy.
But yeah, so I'm going to
different levels that things are going to be on. Are you going to have anything on a high shelf? Are you going to have anything on a countertop? Are you going to have things on the floor? Or is it? If you thought about?
I can actually show you real quick. Just give me a sec. I've got it here somewhere. But yeah, it's basically you can grab stuff at different levels, or you will be able to, I guess. Like that's the better way to.
Because I've seen the animation of him crouching down, and it's quite it does look quite snappy.
Okay, here we go. So this guy. So I've already figured out like the keyframes for it, but I just need to actually make the animations for these. So it's just like him being able to jump, like to bow down or like to grab something up. So that's another thing I need to do because like his arms only go to like 3 or 4 different locations. I have to. I don't know if I'm gonna like completely sort of regulate every single item in the game to only be able to like be applied. But what I can do, like, and I can do this systematically, which is like I came up with it the other day, and I'm really excited to actually implement this, even though it's really geeky and codey and stuff. But I can
That's
actually
what we're here for, isn't it?
Right, exactly. So I can actually like register like where the floor is on the ground, if the player is on the floor, sort of thing, and I can actually check with the system where the item is in height without me having to code every single item, sort of thing. So if the item, like if I place the item on the floor, then he'll automatically like play the animation where he ducks down and picks it up. Like if I place the item in the engine like a bit higher up, then it'll automatically know which animation to go to depending on the height of the object, if that makes sense. So I'm really
saying for this object, play this animation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if I move that object and put it on the floor or something, and I forget, and then he animates it grabbing up the top, that'll never happen because I'll always like have it systematically coded in, which I'm really excited about. I think that's gonna be really cool when I actually get that in.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
But yeah, that was basically mostly it. Also making the background look pretty. Next month though, I'm gonna be working on this porch. I'm actually gonna finish all that sort of stuff off, and something that I didn't start on last month, which I really wanted to get to, but I just didn't, even though I worked a bunch on this over the holidays, was the UI stuff. Like I still haven't done any of that, like how the bag's gonna look, and like when you're rummaging through the bag and stuff, like what's going to happen when you click on your bag, sort of thing. Like, is it like, I think I've got the idea of him sort of ducking down as if he's going into his bag, like I showed you a minute ago. Him rummaging through the bag real quick, and then it sort of like puts him off to one side on the camera, and then all the items are going to be displayed of what's in his bag. But I also got the like I'm thinking about like what should I do if he's got too many items in his bag, and I'm kind of thinking about I might slow down the character controller, like the more items he's got, just to annoy people. I'm not gonna have like the you are overcumbered with too many items, and then suddenly he's slowed down. Yeah, like I'm not gonna do that.
Like,
but
you throw away a pot or like a tomato, and then you can run,
and then you can
again.
run. Yeah, it's stupid, right? But I might make it dynamic, so it's it gradually builds up. So like after a while, you kind of like, God, he's really sluggish right now. I need to get rid of some of this sort of stuff, and then it won't be like just one item dropped and then you're able to run again. It's going to be like gradual, I think. And I think that's the way I'm going to handle like people picking up too many things as well, because you can drop and you can pick stuff up. I might just have it so you can pick up absolutely everything in the game if you want, but you will go at a snail's pace, sort of thing. Yeah. And that'll be the balance to that.
Why don't you want everyone picking everything up?
Because it ruins puzzles. Like, this is something I've been grappling with for a while. Because like the way certain games do it, so if you look at a game like Skyrim, you can pick up absolutely everything in that game, but you can only drop things which are unimportant, quote unquote. So if it's a quest item, if it's something to do with a puzzle, you cannot drop it. And the second that you pick something up and you can't drop it, puzzle's ruined.
Then you know it's important.
You know it's important. And that in this game is sort of a thing which I want to try and remove if I can. Like, I don't want to make it inherently like, I don't want to make anything seem like it's important. Like, there's some things which I like want to do the opposite as well. Like, I want people to look at certain items and think, okay, that's important, and then it just isn't, sort of thing. Like, I want to play with that as much as possible as well, because that's one of my annoyances about point-and-click adventure games more than anything, is that the only things that the player can ever interact with within a game, in a point-and-click adventure game, is that if you can interact with it, then it's important, and you need to use it somewhere. I kind of want to avoid that.
So we've had some more adventures with Flatpak this week, as we've continued to do bits that we've wanted to with the house. Hooray, relatives giving us Christmas money and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we've and there's always a spare screw. There's always and
the
you
Lego
sort of
set.
have that moment. And
Lego set, extra Lego.
Yeah,
and you're like,
there's
where
always
does this extra Lego go? Yeah.
I've built so much Lego over Christmas for my son. Christ. He got like 5 different sets. There's been a motorbike and a plane and a little village on a beach. And but yeah, there's always spare parts. And it gives me that moment of, are these here just in case? Did they screw up? Or have I done something wrong?
Yeah.
And they freak me out, those extra parts.
Yeah.
Especially extra screws. And yeah.
I think it's a refreshing take on it, and I think as long as it ties in with either the story or the world, or it ties in somehow, and it's not just like, what's all this stuff for? I have no idea.
That's
by the time you get to the game, you're like, well, I don't know what this stuff was for.
Yeah, I think in any other normal game, if you were thrown into a world where it's like an actual sort of like huge AAA sort of style world, like something like Skyrim, and you could pick absolutely everything up, like it's overwhelming, right? So like you don't, like you constantly don't know if something is important or not. But in this game, because it's only set in 2 houses, like I can do that. So I like that's because the scope is so focused.
Yeah,
like when you when you walk into a room. When you walk into a room and everything in the room is like collectible, like everything. You can pick anything up, like apart from like a chest of drawers, obviously. But you can open the chest of drawers and then there'll be stuff inside the chest of drawers. Like having that sort of stuff, like I've actually got that set up right now. Which, ignore my debug key, which is actually just a cube, so I can get into this house. But if you go into drawers, like being able to open these drawers and then like find all this stuff just rummaging through it, like that is the sort of thing which I want to play with. I want to sort of play with the player's expectations with that sort of, in that sort of respect. I actually want them to think about the puzzles. Like I don't want them to just be like, okay, I've got these 10 items in my inventory like every other point and click action adventure game, and then they're just like trying to combine them and clicking around. Like I actually want them to think about certain things. So like that's the main thing, and that's ultimately why I want the player to be able to pick up absolutely everything, but I also want to restrict what they can pick up, because I actually want them to have to think about what they're going to drop. So if you can pick up everything without any consequences, then you'll just pick up everything to like, I might need that later, and you'll just hoard stuff. Right, but if you overbear the player a little bit, then they'll have to think about, do I actually need this sort of thing? And if they do drop it, they have to remember where they dropped it, because they have to come back and get it if they need it. And it's that sort of stuff that I want to play with.
You have watched me hundreds of times over get to the end of a Final Fantasy, and I've still got 99 potions, 99 high potions, 99. Yeah, what are you doing? I'm sat like, might need them. This is right. A boss sound. Might need them.
And then you never use them.
Yeah, but at the same time, when I get this weird thing when I play like a Resident Evil, because you've got the item box in Resident Evil, so you've got a limited inventory,
right?
But you've got the item box where you can store everything, and magically all the item boxes in the game are somehow linked together. Like there's some poor UPS bastard constantly dashing between them.
Yeah, he's gone over to this one now. I've got to
great. There's zombies down that corridor, but because there are points of no return in Resident Evils as well, I'm like, before I leave this mansion, I'm gonna hoover around every single room, make 100 trips to the item box, and I'm gonna get to the lab at the end, and I'm gonna have like 5,000 flamethrower rounds, 2 grenade launchers, and a spare rocket launcher just in case. But I'm still gonna have just the pistol and the shotgun equipped, because I don't know when I might need that rocket launcher.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about this, is like the scope is so low, and there is no point of like no return sort of thing. Like you can at the very end of the game, you can go back to the first front yard, which I'm in right now, and just go back and forth whenever you want, which is the great thing about it. So my only concern, which I'm really thinking about, is that if I drop an item and the player can't access it anymore, like if it falls behind another object and stuff like that, that's some things that I have to consider, and that's what I think most of my headaches are going to be about, being able to drop items, and if you are able to drop items and things like that, and it's just it's something
don't lose things down the back of a sofa. Sort of
I mean, because like I'm sort of playing with the idea as well, like if you do drop something, it doesn't actually drop in the physical world, it might just show up in this trash can or this bin in the front garden, so everything just drops into there automatically. So if you do drop something, you know where it is.
So you gotta go back. You might have to go back to the beginning if you get halfway through a puzzle. You're like, oh, I needed that hammer or something.
Right,
I dropped it in the bin.
Yeah.
Okay. Resident Evil 0 lets you drop items, but it also has them marked on the minimap, so you know where the items you dropped are. That
Right.
might be another way of doing it.
Yeah, that's.
But,
I don't have a mini map though. It's the only thing.
You'd have
could
to have
have
it
a-
like 3D because you got levels.
Ah, it's a
If
lot of
you-
work though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you can go from the end of the game right the way back to this first starting screen,
Yeah.
achievement/trophy idea, have a gun right at the very end, and you can bring it all the way back to the start, shoot that zombie, it just pops up 10G revenge.
You kill this guy pretty quick. Like you need to kill this guy to get
okay.
out Let's get out the front yard, I think. So, although do you? I'm not sure.
You need a secret way that you don't need to kill the zombie.
Yeah, maybe.
You need a secret puzzle way of doing it.
Yeah, called like the trophy would be called pacifist, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There's a couple of zombies in the game that you have to kill though. So like there's no way around some of them. You have to.
Cool.
Or maybe I could get around
At
that.
the
I'm not sure.
moment.
At the moment.
Bottlenecks. Yeah.
Maybe.
Feature creep.
Yeah, scope creep. We're just added a passive mode, bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Like next month, I'm gonna be working on the UI stuff. Like I said, I really want to get around to texturing the front sort of porch and getting all that in. But I really want to make like a foliage set, so like vines and ivy and stuff like that, some ferns, and just be able to dot those around the map as well. I think that's going to be really helpful. But yeah, that's pretty much the goal going forward.
That's going to be good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that finished slice and being able to. Are we going to be able to play it once the vertical slice is done?
Yeah, that's my plan.
That's why he's restricted what he's shown us today. Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually done like the animation of like the zombie actually grabbing him and eating him sort of thing. There's actually about 5 times as much animation in the background, which I've already done, which I can't show because they're all related to puzzles within this area. So, and it's just a player doing stuff, and I'm just like, if I show that, then it's gonna ruin it. So
Then
like that's like but like since doing this thing, I'm like, because this is based off the conversation that me and you had, Chris. Like, okay, am I just gonna restrict the player from going near the zombie? Or am I, and like whenever he walks up to it, he walks back. It's like, nope, not going near him. He looks a bit chewy, sort of thing. Like I could do that, like
chewy,
right? Like I shall call him Zombie McBiteface or something. I don't know. But like restricting the player, or should I just let him or her like play in the game? Just if you want to walk into the zombie, go for it. See what happens, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like that, like I've really thought about that, and I'm thinking about implementing that as much as I can into the game, like having animations for stuff play through, for stuff that won't work as well. So like
and it's blown up on Twitter, and there's something there. So like being able to die, and like the way that players die in games, I'm sure there's like hundreds of news articles about like the most satisfying deaths in video games, which are fail states if you want to see it from one point.
Absolutely.
Not only are there lists about the most satisfying ways to die in games, Tomb Raider has its own category.
Well, there you go.
That's true.
Yeah, that is satisfying, and the scream that goes with it, and the noise, and these are the things that people like remember about the video game. So I love what you've done, and I don't think it is just the algorithm. I think you've stumbled across something that resonates with people, and I think that's part of it. So have more zombie deaths. I think. Game.
Yeah, I kind of like. I was thinking about like, okay, if the player uses like the wrong item or something, like the gun that's super rusted, sort of thing, or if they find something on the floor, like the player throws it at the zombie and it's like dinks off him and it just carries on. He's angry again, sort of thing. Like having those sort of things, I think it's really going to help like the personality of the game more than anything. And I've been thinking about that a lot. So I'm gonna have a play with that as much as I can. But
yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah,
well done.
Thanks, man.
Great.
Cool. Who's next?
If you came in from the Twitter and you wanted to view this video because of that, you can turn off now because we're not going to talk about Vin's game.
No, we'll talk about more.
Stick around and learn some new games.
Yeah, who's next?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Do it.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Rock, paper. Oh no,
scissors.
hang on. How are we gonna? Right, we've got to sync this.
Okay. How about No, I don't know actually.
How about Vin choose?
No, we'll just sync it. So we'll go rock, paper, scissors, go. Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, go.
Oh, okay. Go again.
Rock, paper, scissors,
go. Yeah.
Right,
Okay. I'll go.
Chris.
I mean, I'll go. Okay. That was
just
long-winded.
awkward stream. Awkward stream, rock, paper, scissors.
2022 cringe compilation. There you go. You're welcome.
So, yes, I've been working on my game, and I kind of took inspiration from you, Vin, and I wanted to have more of a vertical slice. So I wanted to have at least one level that was polished off.
Right.
I've got a few things I need to whiz through and talk about. So basically, yeah, Vin gave me a load of good feedback. He played like the 50 levels that I'd had.
I just trashed it, basically. I was like, this is garbage, Chris. I don't know what you're doing.
Ripped it a new one. Yeah, no, you were very helpful, very good. And we were both on the same page, which is great. So what he thought about the game is kind of what I thought about the game. So that was really good. And so then I've been working my way through Vin's feedback. And yeah, I'm wanting to just focus on one level, polish that as much as I can, and then apply those polished things onto the 50 games, and then I've got half the game done, and then the next 50 odd levels, that should be at least I've got my cookie cutter process worked out. That's the theory in any case. So I've done some work on the character controller.
Wait! You need to explain to people what your game is, Chris. Just like I had to.
Yes.
God.
Well, the best way is for me to show you. Then I'll show you.
Yeah.
So this is a 2D puzzle platformer game
with sound.
You play with sound working now, where you play as this little ball, and the game is the process of the Kubler-Ross model of grief. So there's the 5 stages of grief, and each time you go through a level, it will represent a specific subset of one of the stages of grief, and so that's where the story sort of unfolds, and that's what the inspiration was for the game. And so yeah, I've been
something a little
on...
too cheery in that delivery. All of
Yes.
the stages of grief. So
Yes.
first
You
we're
can
going
get
to
miserable.
visit denial, then we'll have popcorn, then after acceptance, ice cream,
Ice cream after acceptance.
and don't forget the gift shop.
Don't you
Unless
know
the grief
games
is
are
about-
fun, right?
Yeah, games. No, this is going to make everyone depressing. This is oh, I'm not happy about this. It's one of those games. It's like the Radiohead of video games is what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
But I'm cheery about it. Yeah, I'm happy with the progress, so I'm quite happy.
Ironically, you're happy with the progress.
Ironically.
Yeah.
So we've got, character controller, did some work on that. Particle effects, I've worked on that. Some background changes, so this looks different to last time. I've done some knockback physics, and I've done some bug fixes, and I can describe the audio. So, if you can hear that, every time I'm hitting the wall, is actually making a note sound.
Yep.
And the idea is that every sort of major stage of grief will have a melody, and you'll be able to play the melody while you're navigating through the actual levels. And so some will be in minor key, some will be in major key, some will have some weird Japanese sort of scales going on, and depending on what I think it's going to most represent. So I'm trying to be as pretentious as possible with every aspect of this video game. So that's kind of the sound. Yeah, and Vin, one of your things was that the big ball didn't make a donk sound, and so now it does. If you listen carefully, if I get hit one at some accuracy, some speed, it goes dong, and that's off key as well.
Awesome.
So it's like you've hit the big ball too hard, and it's made a donk sound. I might tweak that a bit later, depending on.
Will not make joke. Will not make joke.
No more ball jokes.
Right. Big donking noise from balls. Not making jokes. I'm just observing.
I'm gonna have to get used to this. Gonna have to talk about it for a while, aren't I? So it's gonna get to a point where I'm immune to it, but everyone else is laughing. I'm like, what are you all laughing about? One interesting thing that I worked on, which I'm quite proud of, is I've done the animation for the key here. This purple ball is the key.
Yeah.
And it kind of does this weird sort of breathing thing that I'm quite proud of. And I've synced up the particle emitter so that it's every time it cycles, that's when the burst of the particles happens.
So it's like it's breathing them out almost.
It's like it's breathing out the bubbles, and then when
at the risk of you hating me, that kind of reminds me of Poison status ailments. Like that kind of looks toxic / stay away from it.
Yeah, I was thinking about the actual color and I'm going to change the color of every time you go to a new each sort of level will have its own color theme as well, which most represents the stage of grief as well. And this is supposed to be confusion, so this is the 6th confusion level. And the background was just me trying to play around, come up with something that looked pretty, but I hate it already. And yeah, that's interesting because purple is a kind of like a universal toxic thing, and this is the way that we're actually implementing the idea of, hey, here's a key, you can pick up keys unlock doors, which is basically an enemy that's in front of the door. So this might turn into something more pleasant, like a light blue or something else, but I'm gonna have to work on it. But the color I can get changed out at any time. But that is good feedback, and yeah, I've not thought about it being poison, but you're right, a lot of people go, oh, that's poisonous, so I need to make it look more inviting. I was going to have like some rotating light, like god rays coming off of it, maybe, to make it look more inviting.
You know what you could do? I've
that?
just had a thought, like just random feedback though, like so the player knows if they've got the key or not, sort of thing. Like why don't you have like a smaller version of the key like inside your player, like once they've collected it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Then it's sort
Or
of,
if the key's a purple ball, maybe one of your balls around the edge turns purple. Do consult your doctor if your balls turn purple.
yeah, but I mean something like that. You could have like within like the large body of your player sort of thing. Like you could even have like a purple thing like knocking around in there. So like it looks like you're carrying it almost. You know, it's not just a trigger somewhere. Like it actually becomes a
bounce
party
around the
almost.
edges like let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out.
Yeah, kind of.
I've actually been playing with that over the weekend. Not my own blue balls, but I was trying to make the enemy ball look more grisly and gnarly and mean, and I was actually toying with the idea of having like a tail on the enemy one here.
Nice.
But it just looked like it was trying to be a tadpole made out of circles, and it just didn't look. And I tried to make the tail kind of do a menacing wiggle, and it did not look good. But I've been spending hours with 2D joints, rotation joints, hinge joints, spring joints, so I could totally do that, and that might actually look pretty cool. The only thing is,
there's a lot here in terms of color association. And they animate differently, fine, but do you think that's going to be enough for colorblind users?
Well, that was one of the things I was trying to play with as well. Like I was thinking about actually playing with that, and for confusion, that could be the colorblind colors that people get confused with, which I think is like red and is it red and blue?
There's 3 different types of colorblindness.
Well, there's 3 different types of colorblindness. One's the most common one is. I was thinking about playing with the most common one and like interchanging those and actually playing with that. But yeah, it's something I need to think about and have feedback on. So I didn't know whether or not more it was going to be color palette wouldn't be as important, and then just have shapes in the background and the foreground elements like these the blue ones in the foreground. They could be what represent the level more so than color palette, because I need to make sure the color palette is going to be good for colorblind people to use, and other elements like lighting and direction UI and stuff.
We had that problem on our last game, which was like our main character was in like army green sort of thing, and like I remember giving it off to someone to test it, and they were just like, yeah, it's great, but I can't see the character. I was like, what do you mean? Because the little army dude was on like a brown background, and like his certain like green just basically turns to brown, and because the values of like the brown and the green were the exact same, just on different like hue shifts, like he literally dissolved into the background completely. It's just like this little head running around for him. He was like, yeah, I just can't see the character. Like, it's great, it's just I can't see the character whatsoever. And it's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. That's crazy. So like it's less about the colors of things, but if you change the brightness and the color, like the brightness and darkness of some things as well, and the contrast, like even if the colors are different, like they'll be able to differentiate that. But yeah, when it comes to color blindness anyway, like it's a whole thing, but I wouldn't worry about it too much yet until
it's something that can change right at the end. Like the color of everything can change super quick. That's like in my wheelhouse. Like I can can do that. It's not a problem. So, yeah, but I need to figure out what colors I want everything, I suppose, eventually, and go for the themes and stuff. But yeah, and that's what I'm going to do next. I want to make one level that looks kind of pretty, and yeah, at the moment all the colors are screaming at each other, not in a good way. So it's not there yet in terms of the look. Oh yeah, I can show you the other particle effect on the key. So there's another burst there, and then that's like it's dissolved.
That's cool.
And a little sound effects plays, and I tried to put some knockback physics on the actual wall to make it feel a bit more interactive, but it just was ridiculous. So I've added the particle effects on the enemy black ball here, and then if I bump into him, it does a little knockback and makes a little pop noise.
Oh.
And then you've got some particle effects that's
way better. Yeah, that looks great.
There's actual visual feedback. You can tell something's
that's not cool. Yeah, and I was thinking about having a bark as well, like a little or something to show that that hurt sort of thing. Yeah. The character controller has actually changed recently, and so these balls they used to swing about in the breeze, and so if you had only a few balls left and I'd be moving around, they would like rotate around the character quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then I've recently changed the character movement controller, and they behave differently. So I'm just turned off the circle collider and the rigid body, which means the connections which hold them all together are still there. So I actually prefer this better, because I think that it demonstrates that you've lost something and it's not a feature that's desirable.
Right.
If you like. And then if I get killed by the enemy, then it goes into that, and that's the death, and then respawns, and you start again.
Cool.
So I've actually got to a point where I can play a game and it's feeling a lot better.
Yeah, in terms of feedback, even just to watch, that is massively improved.
Because that's good to know. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be visible that there was actually much change. So that's good to hear.
No, it looks great. It looks much better. Like the whole knockback, like that was one of my main sort of points of feedback, I guess. Like when you were getting hit, it would literally just go straight through everything. It'll go through like your outer little protection guys, and then it would go straight through like the main body, and you dead instantly.
Like it was butter. Yeah.
Right. And it was just like, it doesn't feel like I'm getting hit. It just feels like it's going through me. But like seeing that is just like, yeah, that's 20 million times better. I can just see automatically that it's like, okay, this is good.
Decent. That's what I want to hear, guys. Yeah. Keep it coming.
Everything else looks terrible though. Like just awful. Like I'm joking.
So good.
Jesus.
Nearly had it.
Almost there.
Where's my knockback?
Also going back a ways, but I did look up because I was curious about different types of color blindness. So I've got Deuton vision, Proton vision, Triton vision, which I guess you get a trident and you tell your daughters she can't go up to the surface.
Right. That's the one.
And this is why I delayed. I didn't know how to pronounce this last one. Achromatopsia.
There's a few different ones, isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen on some of the games that are really good for color blindness so that you can actually toggle between what type you've got as well. It will change adding more colors.
The better way to do it, honestly, is like every single sprite that you've got in the game or any object, like if you've got a material, like you can reference it in code, and then just like if option for color blindness for X color blindness, then shift color to this. And it's just, it would be really easy to implement. And it's kind of nuts that people don't do more of that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's something
it's kind of insane if you look at the options and toggles and say Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart or
Sony have really got on it this gen.
Oh yeah, The Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
Did a really good job of it. What else did I play recently?
I've heard Forza Horizon had
Miles
good
Morales.
options.
Yeah, Forza,
yeah, so that's all good. I'll definitely do that. Here's one of the codes that I've been working on for.
Hey, you fixed it. It's got code snippets and the colors are right.
There are some colors now, yeah. So I've did some fixing. It's still not all the way there. It still doesn't auto-populate on my options, so I still need to figure out how to get my options down.
Yeah,
things
it's
that
still
could
got the
go there.
miscellaneous files in the top left, which
But
from everything I've read is still the root cause. No closer on fixing it. But...
You're not close on fixing it. I've not looked at trying to fix it, to be honest, because I was going to wait until I was going to do my coding for like my menu system and stuff like that, and then I was going to do it. But because I've not needed to, I've only needed to fix code, so I didn't think that spending that amount of time on trying to get my option. I know I should. I know, Vin. I know. I can see your face.
The thing is, it's just like it helps you improve so much. Like you will learn a bunch by having code snippets. Like when I say code snippets, like when you start even typing something, and it gives you all the options. Like just being able to go through that, and it helps you code 20 times faster as well. And just you'll be able to debug stuff. Like if something isn't working, like just having it appear. Like have you got it now where if you mistype something, it gives you the squiggly line at least? Have you got that? No. Okay. Like I think that will be the biggest, because that just helps you learn more than anything. It's not there to make good code. Like it's nothing to do with that. Like you'll still be able to write code like this, obviously, like you have been doing, and you've gotten to this point. But like in terms of learning code, like if you know when you're doing something wrong instantly, then it's just you will just pick stuff up super quick. So it's I would say get on it. So get on.
I'm really proud of this. This is like stuff that I looked at so many different things, and to add the force when you got hit. And then this did have a coroutine as well, where it was waiting for like an eighth of a second or 8 frames or something, and then it would do something else. But then I got a bug when I died that it was like, oh, you can't do the coroutine because the object doesn't exist. So then I had to tweak it and tweak it and tweak it, and so now this is in a good place now. Yeah. And then the other code, which I think is going to be really good for if I put the tags on the keywords, is the new Unity input control system. So my old player controller script was this, and it was something that I copied off the internet, and then here is where it had normalized. Yeah. So the move velocity was normalized speed, which meant that if you're going diagonally with a keyboard control panel or the WSAD, you'd move without normalized. You'd basically be going at 70% extra speed on the diagonal.
Yeah.
And with normalized, it rounded it down to just 1, so you could only ever go whatever the speed is on the top there, the public float. The problem with that is when you use the new Unity input manager, new input system, is that when you're using a joystick controller, it's normalized. So any input on the controller is going to give you a value of 1. So it feels good on the controller, but you can't have that sort of slow, fast thing that you can get with a controller with variable inputs. So I was racking my brain and looking at loads of stuff, and there was hardly anything at all. I had to sort of cobble something together and really read it and really look it up, and then I made this new code. So it's totally different in terms of the way it's doing the same thing, but it's approaching it in a different way. And that the key is clamp magnitude, but getting that on a vector 2 is so hard. All the stuff I found online on YouTube, it's all about vector 3 clamp magnitude. So even on the actual Unity instruction manual, there's no way to demonstrate how you code a vector 2 clamp magnitude. It's all vector 3. So this has helped me no end, this thing that I've sort of found out. So if you're on the old tags that you've typed in, Unity input manager won't work, horizontal, digital, diagonal, joystick, keyboard, what I've been typing in all day, then hopefully this should help you out.
Yeah. The only thing which I've noticed on this code anyway, which might be, I'm not saying it's wrong, it probably works absolutely fine. Is there a reason why you've got time.fixed delta time? Or is that just something that you saw from a tutorial?
Yeah, I think fixed delta time works regardless of frame rate. So if the frame rate drops, then it still does it at the same.
That's what delta. Like I would take out the fixed. I'm not really sure what like fixed delta time is. So do time.delta time. I'm not sure what fixed is for though.
And under this one as well, you may not need the time.delta time at all because you've already got it under fixed update. So update will will run every frame. So if someone's getting 120 frames per second, they will move faster than someone who's getting 60 frames per second. Go back to that knife damage Resident Evil example we gave before. Resident Evil's coming up a lot tonight. I think I might have it on the brain. Anyway, but because you're already in fixed update, which will occur in time and is better for physics interactions anyway, you might be all right without having to multiply it by time.delta time at all.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, I would experiment with it. I would try it like both ways. Like if you take out the time.fixed delta time and like it feels no different, then just leave it out. But I mean, it doesn't
get access raw and not get access and just get access normal. Like I know there's a difference between the two, and they work in different ways. And it's screwing something up with the input system as well with Unity.
I think this came up last episode as well. So I think get access is a float value, so it can be 0. whatever, and get access raw is an integer value, so it can only be 0 or 1.
Yeah,
right.
It might be the other way around.
I think it might be the other way around. I think raw is the float, so you can be a bit more incremental about it.
So that's good for the controller, probably.
I think it's good for your control. But yeah, I mean, with the time.fixed delta time, like you do need some sort of fixed thing in there, or delta time or something, because it's like Sam was saying, if you've got 120 FPS like computer or something,
versus
it's just
30.
like
I think just having it under fixed having it under fixed update instead of update should already solve that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either or, it's not important, but I just noticed that and I was like, I've never seen fixed delta time. I don't actually know what that means, but yeah, if it's...
I copied it off the internet.
Of course.
Someone in the comments let me know that I'm a hack who doesn't know what I'm talking about, because you'll be correct.
Yeah, I mean, we're all artists, like trying to figure out code, so like we're not... Yeah, don't scream at us too much.
Yeah.
Like we're just...
This will work on my computer. That's all I can say.
Yeah, this is the reality of being a solo dev though. Like there's going to be fields that we have no idea about, and we've got to like dip our feet in it because it's like, well, no one else is going to do it, so we've got to figure this out. And this is what it looks like, us just not knowing what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I've been working on and what I wanted to sort of demonstrate to you guys. So yeah, the next thing that I'm going to be working on after this is I want to get a bit more of another particle effect on the white portal. I might have to show that some more quicker white things to show that it's kind of like a vortex, or like a like it's like where you're supposed to go as well. And then after that, I'll do a new background, try to figure out how I'm going to convey that confusion, the sense of confusion. And I want to add a black background or a black edge to the key, maybe change the color of the key, because that's, purple is toxic. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. And yeah,
Britney Spears song stuck in my head now. Thank you very much.
and then I think it's done. Then I just need to do like the UI, which is just display what the name of the level is when you open it up, and then I'll add in the barks and stuff, and I'll do the script, and I'll just put some placeholder voiceover in there just to demonstrate it, and then so it's one whole experience, just like what you're going for, Vin, where it sort of shows what the game could be in a small section, and then see if I got something. But it feels like it's coming along, and that's good that you guys like the knockback and the particle effects and stuff. So yeah,
it feels more gamey with that as well. Like you can't step away from that too much, I guess. Like people try, but they fail every time. Like so you've got to put in sort of player feedback, and it's got to feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, embrace the format. Don't try to cover it up. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so,
cool,
yeah,
man.
That's what I've been working on. And yeah, I spent like yesterday and today just basically all day doing it, and it's the first time that's ever happened really in the last couple of years, because I haven't had 2 full days one after the other to myself. So yeah, because I've had work or weekends I've been doing stuff or need to do stuff. So it's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I've been in the mood. I've been in the mood to like crack on. It's because I've finished Halo Infinite. That's basically why I spent 2 days doing it. If Halo Infinite hadn't been completed, the campaign, then I would
still be playing that.
Spent 2 days. I'd have just been playing that. So yeah, it's just because I was in between games that I had that time, I suppose.
Fair enough.
Which kind of leads us on to you, Sam.
Yeah, I've kind of had the opposite problem. So, depending on how much you like philosophical conversations, this will either be the highlight or a complete anticlimax to the episode for you. So when we left off, I said I was working on a top-down shooter. I'd done some nice pixel art and some animations for my main character, and I said my next goal was to carry on with a space shooter tutorial that I'm doing to learn some more C#, and to then get my character controller working the way I want and make shooting feel good. So that would involve, one, doing that chapter of the Unity course. It would then involve doing the other directions for my character facing, because I only had facing one direction so far. It would involve an animation for the gun firing, and it'd involve an aiming reticle, which would be some code like whizzing around the player. And some of those things could have been interdependent of each other. So the spinning aiming reticle is not done. The other sprites and animations are not done, and the tutorial is not done. So I sort of had this thing of, I'm going to have Christmas off, 2 weeks off work. I'm going to get so much done. I kind of got nothing done. And there's, nothing done on the game. So I sort of had to sit back and separately, like, I also do YouTube videos on games and like little reviews and this kind of thing. And I spent a lot of time finishing up a Sonic Heroes video, and I sort of took a look at what YouTube in particular gives me. And when I'm actually in the creative process and the flow, actually making a video, I enjoy it a lot. The second I look at the analytics, I turn into this bitter, horrible, disgusting, toxic person that I personally don't like. And it brings a very negative energy into my life. So that, and also while I was working on a video, I wasn't working on this game. So YouTube kind of got taken out and beheaded. I'm still going to...
back of the potting shed and put down.
Funnily enough, the Sonic Heroes, it does have a clip from Old Yeller in it. I talk about how Sega treated the Dreamcast. So I'm downscaling YouTube massively. I was doing at least a video a month. I'm probably going to do one a quarter, maybe, when I feel like it.
That's good.
Which then gives me more time for game dev. But also, it was really important to have the 2 weeks over Christmas, New Year to just relax and chill. Like my first day back at normal work is tomorrow. I actually have a recharge, because there's this weird thing in my head, like, oh, you have to be productive all the time. And that's not good for me either.
No.
So I think I've had a month of like none of my comic work got done. Yes, the YouTube video got done, but it's going to be the last one for a little while, I think. And I think I just had a stern talking to with myself in terms of, because a lot of things that apply to the YouTube apply to the game in terms of motivation and why I want to do it. So part of it is, I did a games design degree for a reason, right? And I would like to, like, I look back on 2020. Chicks, right? Of course, yeah, all the pussy. Sorry, I looked back on.
Oh god, this went off the rails quickly.
Just schoolyard giggling now. That's. But I look back on 2021 and I bought a house. I started a new job that was a promotion and a pay rise over my old job. I'd love to look back on 2022, because 2021 is going to be a hard year to beat, pandemic aside. I'd love to look back on 2022 and be like, oh, I finally got my ass in gear to make a game. And I think the top-down shooter is still the right sort of scope and scale, and it gives me the opportunity to learn C#. But I got led astray a little bit partway through December. So RPG Maker which I've mentioned before, and Vinny, I can already see your face, like, this fucking kid. I started with RPG Maker 2003 when I was 12, 13. Got handed like the illegal translation on a floppy disk in a PE changing room, of all places.
Like a drug deal.
While we're all naked.
Yeah.
Make an RPG. There you go.
Dripping in pussy.
The imagery is definitely something. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Good luck with the thumbnail on this one, Vin.
Yeah, I mean, dripping in pussy and purple balls. Like, it's going to be easy, actually.
Naked.
It's going to be an easy... Yep.
So I sort of came away from RPG Maker. I did start a project in it earlier 2021 about a bounty hunter in a world where if you don't show up for your trial, A, you're automatically found guilty, and B, your next of kin serves your sentence instead. Because they're like, well, when bail was just money, rich people still did whatever the hell they want because it's like, well, I can pay it. It's fine. I started work on that before deciding, well, I'm not a huge fan of RPG Maker MZ. It was supposed to be the next upgrade from MV, and in a lot of ways it was a downgrade. And I promise this is going somewhere. Don't worry. And the other reason was that I was looking at, okay, so if I make a game in RPG Maker, it can really only ever go on Steam because you'd have to redo it entirely in Unity or Unreal or something else to port it to consoles, right?
Right.
So there are a couple of problems with that. One is the assumption that it would warrant being put on consoles. Actually, let's start with Steam and see if it's popular. Even if I do a game in Unity, it's going on Steam for $100 first. I don't have, a publisher or contacts or the money or the development kits to go through Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo's certification process and all the rest of it. Yeah. So I'm not in a position to do it.
Yet. Currently.
Well, just an aside on that point, though, real quick anyway, but you've actually already got an Xbox developer kit. Your Series X can actually be put into developer mode. It's one of the best things about the Series X for developers, in my opinion.
For 20 quid.
For £20. Like, it's
wow.
ridiculous. Yeah. And you can you can switch it to developer mode, and you can upload your package file to it and just start playing your game on the Xbox, which is kind of insane if you think about like the ramifications of that. Like, the PlayStation needs a dev kit, like the PS5.
Oh yeah.
Like, we've got dev kit. Like, you probably saw the leaked footage of those things, like before the PS5 was shown off, like the alien UFO looking thing. Like, they're all over our studio. Like, it's they're a completely different thing. But the Xbox is great because you can literally just put it into dev mode, which is great. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
So, thinking about choosing my engine and the game I want to make based on the consoles I want to deploy on, that might be running before I'm walking anyway. And when I looked at why I do anything, really, and it sort of comes back to the YouTube conversation, is that am I making a game for money or an income? Well, no, I already earn more than the median UK salary in the job I do. We already live comfortably.
Yeah.
I like stable full-time employment.
Mic drop.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got a pension, I've got holiday, I've got sick days.
Yeah.
I don't particularly want to trade any of that in. Okay, so it's not for income. Is it for recognition, a sense of belonging, being loved?
Peer, yeah.
I hope my wife and kids love me.
You don't need extra, is what you're saying. You don't need any extra love from the community.
I look at it and I think, oh, you're trying to impress internet strangers who you are never going to meet.
Right.
And it's not. It's all like, what are you doing? So, ultimately, what am I making this game for? So, one, because I'm stubborn. Okay?
You set yourself a task and you need to,
Yeah. Two, because I have an ego. Okay? And this is a weird thing. It's like when I fiddle with or upgrade the PC. It's not because it needs it. It's because I can. It's like when I set up emulators and all the rest of it. I've got an actual N64 right there. I don't need to fiddle around with all these emulators and other options, but I can. And that's half the fun of it. A lot of the time, like, I have set up ODEs and hard drive mods and all the rest of it for some of my consoles. I still go to the original bloody disc. I don't play any games on it that I couldn't play before. The fun was the journey. And I think that's what I discovered about YouTube, and it's also what I'm discovering about game design. So actually that commercial aspect where we were talking about, let's make our games longer than 2 hours because of the Steam refund window. I mean, fuck off.
It shouldn't be a thing, right? We shouldn't have to be thinking about that, but we do. Like, it's weird. Yeah. But it's the world we live in.
And like commercial viability, let's maybe take that out of the equation. If it goes on itch.io for 99p,
when
I made a game, bitch, what did you do?
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen to everything that you've said, and I saw a tweet by someone like talking about this exact same thing, because they've got like 10,000 Steam pre-orders or whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called.
Wish lists.
Wish list, that was it. Sorry. Yeah, they had like 10,000 wish list things, and there were questions like, okay, why am I doing this? Why do I want to finish this game? And like, is it an egotistical thing? Is it the money? I don't really care about the money, but I do care about the money. I do care about like the ego side of it, and I think ultimately what I've concluded, and it's not really a selfish thing. Well, it is kind of selfish, but like when you said ego, Sam, I don't think it is ego whatsoever. What I think it is, and what I've sort of reconciled with, is like you wanted to leave a legacy for yourself. You wanted to detach yourself from something that you've created and be like, okay, I've made something. And that's important, and like, especially as a solo dev as well, because like you're putting everything into it. It's not really egotistical. You're not trying to like put that out there for recognition. You're just there to say that you've done something. I think you wanting to put your footprint into the world in whatever way is not necessarily a bad thing. I think we're all guilty of that, like all three of us and every other person making a game. And like the reason why I don't think that's a bad thing is because that is a major motivator. Like, I don't think half of the projects and like creative projects in the world would get finished if we didn't have that somewhere. Like every creative writer, like, imagines the day that someone is reading their book at a cafe counter when they walk in. Like that's the dream. Like
that's the dream. Yeah.
Game designers are the same. Like it's about the legacy.
What you've done.
So I don't think it's egotistical at all. I think it's more about the legacy than anything. So
there's certainly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Just my 2 cents on it is that I was racking with this before as well, and to me, I just consider myself an artist.
Yeah.
Making art in this particular medium happens to be a video game, and I'm just trying to find my audience with my art.
Right.
And it's as simple as that. But because of that, then that means that the money and the platform and stuff kind of falls in line. So it's like, how do I get my art to people? And do I value my art? I value my art, so therefore it's going to be charged. It's not going to be free. It's not going to be a quid on itch, because it has value to me. And then it's just a mission of trying to just find my audience for my art. And once I sort of switched that view, rather than, am I going to like try and be an indie dev? Am I going to like try and make this a job? No, I don't want. I don't want to do that. That shouldn't be my goal. That shouldn't be my aim. But I enjoy the process, and I enjoy making the game, and I've got something to say, and I want to say it, and this is just how I'm going about doing it.
Like, if someone wants to do it for their job, more power to them.
Right.
Absolutely. But I think, speaking to what Vinny was saying, there's particularly about legacy, is this thought of, so when I was in my previous role, which I will not name the company, but I spent...
Is that good, huh?
The best... Yeah, well, I spent the best part of 6 years taking them from a very immature state, where the stuff was going out and it wasn't landing, it wasn't resonating. People actively hated having to do the content, and there was no engagement, to getting us to a point where the engagement was innovative, potentially ready to be submitted for some industry awards. It was at a point where it was bespoke, it was custom, it was entirely in-house, it was gamified, it was innovative, And some people were actually looking forward to seeing what we did next with it. It was making boring topics interesting and engaging. And we had quite a transformation. You could see that in the business metrics for the messages landing and sticking, and actual business change. You could see it in the responses from the user surveys and that kind of thing. It was all positive, all moving in the right direction. But then leadership changed, the team structure changed. 2/3 of the creative team got made redundant so that they could start outsourcing a lot of these projects. And those of us who remained, they tried to say, well, content curation is the natural evolution for a content creator. And that's the point where I unioned up and I said, look, you told me I had a 3-month trial period because it was technically a new role. I'm calling that trial period, cut me my check, I'm leaving. And my legacy, that transformation that I'd shared over 6 years, overnight. And the weird thing is, like I've always said with work, like if something happened to me, I get hit by a bus, another seat is in that chair inside of 3 months. They might do a whip round for your widow. That's about it. It's when you go, your tombstone, husband, father, twat. Right? It does.
Innovative, content creation for interactive learning resources.
Husband, father, twat. Those are the important ones. It does not say, "Fuck me, he made a good bit of e-learning, didn't he?"
Yeah.
It's not even in the conversation.
Yeah, I think this is why you often see in-house in studios, especially, like people really, really care about game credits. And that sounds like a silly thing, but like to have your name on credits in a video game is like it's something that we all strive for. And like I know, like the first time I ever saw it in one of the games I worked on, it felt great because it was like, okay, I have now successfally, I have a legacy, like as small as it is.
It's a good milestone.
So it's just I think it's to what you're saying, Sam, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a death in the family a couple of years ago, and it was one of those gone too soon things, sort of mid-40s. And they were a builder. One of the things that really stood out to me from the funeral is they said that, when we look at this building, that archway, that park,
right,
he did that.
Yeah.
And that's still here long after he is.
Yeah.
And there's something about that. And sure, I've made a few comics and put those out self-published. They're crap, but they're out there. And I don't know. I want a game out there, and it'd be nice to turn around to, because like the main joke in the RPG Maker communities was that every month 1,000 projects are started, and every year maybe 2 of them are finished. I'd like to be one of the 2 that get finished, because if I started dabbling in it when I was 13, and I'm 32 now. It's not a good batting average, is it?
Right, yeah.
It's really not. So my idea, and Vinny is going to tell me off. I know Vinny too well. He's going to tell me this is fucking stupid. And that if anything, I'm going to end up...
If you're making an MMO, I'm turning this call off right now. That's all I'm saying. No. When indie developers say that, I want to throw something at them. Like, no, you're not.
It's going to be Breath of the Wild multiplayer.
No, well, what I know is I most enjoy making pixel art, and pixel art is best when it's living, breathing, moving, and that means making it interactive and making it a game.
Right.
And in Unity, I don't know how to code to make it interactive and make it move and live and breathe. So I either learn to code, which I have been doing, or I find a coder. There are 2 options. RPG Maker, I know RPG Maker inside and out. I can make it dance like a puppet. And there were some updates to RPG Maker MZ this past month that basically brought back the old animation system after they tried to tell us that was impossible, because even though so they tried to tell us, they brought in Effectseer, which was like a third-party application for making animations, which already went against simple enough for a child, powerful enough for a developer claim. And this external application did particle effects and 3D models for battle animations. And that's cool, because then you can have your pixel art RPG have sort of a Sega Saturn vibe, because now the battle effects and summons are in 3D, right? But that barrier to entry suddenly goes up. And they said, we're very sorry, but we can't have the old sprite sheet animation system because the engine is just built too different. Within the first month it was out, someone made a plugin that you could make an animation the old way in RPG Maker MV, and so long as it had the same animation ID in MZ, you could import the JSON, heavy rain reference, the JSON file, and it would read it, and it would play the animation properly. Right. So we were already like, well, that's bullshit. And now they've added that old sprite sheet animation system back in, and they've done a few other things that should have been there from the start.
Are you trying to tell us that you're going back to RPG Maker?
You're going back to it. You're going to RPG Maker, which is fine.
It's worse than that.
Oh.
So I talked to you before about...
You're going to make your own?
No.
You're going to make your own games system? Like your own thing?
I can tell already how much I'm apologizing for and making excuses for this. I'm doing both.
Oh.
So this has worked for me with comics before, is that when I have two projects on the go, when I get bored of one, I jump to the other. And I jump back and I jump back and I jump back and I jump back. And this can be... What I'm trying to work on is sometimes in my day job, I'll get to the end of the day, I'll be like, if I see one more fucking Photoshop, Premiere Pro, or After Effects tab, I am going to murder a puppy. Other times, as much as I love my job, we all have those days. Other times, my day job is like the creative warm-up, and then I carry that energy into my home stuff, the comics, the videos, the games. And I kind of want to emulate that to a degree with... So if I hit a roadblock or a wall with the top-down shooter, I can jump over to the RPG and vice versa.
So that process is already like in your wheelhouse. So it's like tried and tested for you. I see what you're getting at. I get that.
It's worked for me in the past, and also RPG Maker is so my comfort blanket, and Unity is so scary unknown.
Here's a question though: why in Unison, and why not just make a little RPG Maker game, release that, and then jump into Unity?
Because he'll never finish the little RPG Maker project. That's the problem. He'll just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Because that's why, sorry to drop a truth bomb on your ear, Sam, but the reason why you haven't finished any RPG Maker game in the past is because you like making RPG games in RPG Maker. You don't like finishing them particularly. You're not really there to finish projects, which I get. But at the same time, you still need to, I don't know, it sounds like you just need to spend more time with either Unity or, honestly, I think for you personally, I don't think Unity is the right engine for you, if I'm honest. I think Game Maker Studio 2 would do really well for you. You should look into that engine. I think that'd really fit you. I've tried out that engine before.
That might be on a humble bundle at the moment.
It's very, very leaned towards pixel art and 2D stuff. I would look into Game Maker Studio 2. Look at the tutorials for it. It's probably a lot more approachable for what you're trying to achieve. The only downside to it is that it's got its own coding language, which is very similar to C#, but it's very simplified.
C#, then that you're not losing any time. You haven't learned much C#. That's not going to be lost on you if you start learning this new language.
The main benefit, I think, and the reason why I bring up Game Maker Studio 2 more than anything is the portability of it. It's a lot more portable than anything that RPG Maker will ever have. You can pretty much port out to everything other than Vita, I think it is. So Hyperlight Drifter was made in Game Maker Studio 2.
I think Spelunky might have been as well.
Spelunky 2, yep, also. So it's a lot of people, the people that finish games in Game Maker Studio 2, they're normally frustrated by the end of it. They're sort of it really needs to be able to do more like Unity or Unreal. But for their first games, for their stepping stone, it's a very artist-friendly game engine. You will be able to make games a lot easier than that. I think if you're overwhelmed by Unity, I think you should look at Game Maker Studio 2. I think it'll be a lot more to your style anyway, especially for sprite animations. It handles 2D pixel art sprites. It's got its own built-in coding language. It's just everything is very streamlined for that sort of game that you're making. So I think it would be really good for you in that respect. The only reason why I like Unity so much is because I'm not restricted by 2D. like whereas Game Maker Studio doesn't really handle 3D whatsoever that well. So that's the only kicker. But if you are like strictly in the mindset like you only want to make 2D, then I think Game Maker Studio 2 might be better for you. But either way, I would say don't let Unity go altogether. But if you are gonna drop anything, like try and get out. Like it's like there's nothing inherently wrong with RPG Maker whatsoever. It's just the
main problem with RPG Maker is that you spend most of your time trying to hide from the world that it's made an RPG Maker.
Right, exactly. Because like unfortunately it does have this stigma against it. Like if you see a game has been made in RPG Maker, like not like people within the RPG Maker community, they embrace every project that comes their way and they're happy to see it. But for anyone else, like people know what RPG Maker is. Like gamers even know what RPG Maker is, and if they see a game that's been made in RPG Maker, they'll probably shy away from it and be like, it's not a real game, which is an unfair stigma, but it is a stigma that exists. Unfortunately, it's just the world that we unfortunately live in, and it's that sort of thing. Which, you know, as long as you don't like drop your main project or you scope down one of them, so like you're always focused and you actually get to the point, so you can actually finish one of them. That's the other thing.
Yeah, to be very, very clear, the top-down shooter is not going anywhere.
Okay.
The top-down okay, that can be interpreted two ways. Roll back. The top-down shooter is not being binned.
Okay.
And it's gonna Unity is
not going
not
anywhere.
off the table then. Yeah.
yeah. When I heard that back in my head, it's not going anywhere. It's like, no, because you haven't fucking done anything on it for a month, Sam. That's not how I meant it.
No, I mean I mean, there's nothing wrong with like not getting anything done. And that's like when you told me that like I haven't really done anything this month. Like I wanted to have this conversation for that reason because solo devs out there might not like they might go through a month where they're not doing anything.
Last year,
fine.
Year, December, I did like so little, but that was mainly probably like health and just lots of like just life.
Yeah, man, life happens. You know, life happens.
Yeah, and I made the decision to be like, I'm not in the right headspace. It's just going to be on the back burner, and it was on there for like I think it was maybe more than a month. It was like maybe 2 months. And then when I did, I wasn't enjoying it. I was in a real
I was having a conversation last week with one of the concept artists I'm sort of mentoring at the moment. She's like having a really hard time with this whole like the social media output of everything, where everyone is constantly being productive and everyone's like, these are my goals for 22 and this is what I did in 21. I'm awesome, and all this like the Instagram sort of like everything's perfect life sort of thing going by, doom scrolling, all that sort of stuff, and it's not the reality. Like
it's a filter.
Yeah, and it's not real. And so like I think it's important to make aware that, you know, we don't work on this 24/7. We're not working on these games 24/7. We do have time off. We do sit down and binge watch Netflix shows every now and then, like everyone else does. It's just we need to be a bit more upfront about that. And I think like Sam taking a month off and not doing anything and just thinking about this sort of stuff is really important.
I thinking, I might do two like game programs at once. Like having these, having.
I knew Vinny wouldn't like it.
Yeah,
I knew. Look at that face.
The reason why I'm against it, really, I guess, is because I think once you get your head around Unity, like once you learn C#, because I think that is the biggest barrier for you anyway. I think you're
barrier. I don't even know how to move an enemy across the screen.
Right, because I think what you're doing right now, and everyone's guilty of this when they first start out, especially with coding. You look at Unity as like Unity is the problem, but actually C# is the problem. That's the problem. Yeah. And once you get your head around the coding side of C#, Unity just explodes and opens up. It's like I can do anything I want. I'm not restricted by certain things, which, you know, it's good to have confinements and stuff as well, and you do, and you still have restrictions in Unity. But I think if you get over that hump of the C# thing, I think the whole
the world opens up. Whereas RPG Maker and other things, you'll be using like 100% of their potential.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to progress. But with Unity, you can use like 10% of its potential, and you can do more.
So like that's why I'm saying like don't. It's not about you like abandoning the top-down shooter or anything like that. Like do the RPG Maker stuff. That's fine. Like because like you know that program and you can just like be creative and be free with it. Do that. But the thing that I would say
I'll tell you what this feels like. It almost feels like
you are getting told off, and you will take your talking to.
It's almost like I've gone, right? It's almost like I've gone. Dad, I don't think
I don't think I want to finish uni anymore. No, I think I want to leave this course.
Yeah.
Do I get to finish my own fucking
Sure,
metaphor?
go.
No, we'll finish it for you, Sam. We know
Go.
what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It almost feels like I'm like, you know what, Dad? I don't think I'm going to look for a girlfriend. I think wanking is just fine for me.
That's the metaphor you were going with? Okay, I'm glad I interrupted you now. But no, like the only thing I was trying to say is like the thing that you should stick to more than anything is learning C#. That's the main thing that I'm trying to like push onto you, like because if you keep learning that, like do your RPG Maker stuff, but if you learn your C# stuff, you'll just get ideas from learning the C# stuff, like the whole like and not being restricted, not have to like constantly go and look at tutorials and not have to constantly look stuff up on Stack Overflow and not have to like once you like get into this rhythm and you start making like for lack of a better term, jazz, when you're just jamming and just coming up with stuff and you're not like having to look up stuff, like everything just opens up and your ideas just don't like you're not stuck in the RPG Maker framework and you're not stuck in like the Unity 3D tutorials from online sort of thing. Like everything just expands. Yeah. So you've got to
never-ending tutorials.
So stick to it.
I figured out a bug. When you figure out your first bug by yourself by just thinking about it, it's really empowering. It's like
a massive achievement.
That I could get rid of the whole code routine because I don't need it, because all I need to do is not destroy the game object. All I need to do is just turn off the circle collider. Bosh. And I know how to do that. Blop, 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 blop. Fix the bug. And it's just like, yeah, it feels powerful. Like, it's a really good feeling.
I think as well, going back to balance and mental health and well-being, well, you know, it is important to take time off, absolutely. And I think the Christmas period especially, I down tools at the day job the 22nd. The 23rd was Christmas Eve, so the kids were buzzing. Christmas Eve, we made the mistake of letting them have Mario Party a day early. Guess what my day entailed on Christmas Eve? It wasn't Monopoly, at least.
No.
Obviously, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, you lose completely to just a blur. The 27th, we had my mum over, and it's lovely to see her. But at the same time, you're hosting and entertaining.
Right.
So I got to the 28th, so Tuesday last week, and you know, partly the autism and the social anxiety coming into play here, but I had the biggest overstimulation headache. I had what I deem a social hangover. Is a term I've coined for it.
That's great. Yeah, I'll have to remember that one. I think my wife gets those for sure.
Yeah, I didn't want to look at anyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I want to crawl myself out of frame. Just like those, just nothing in the tank at that point. And even just the smallest interaction from the people you love most in the world, smallest interaction, fuck off. It was like, Dad, can I have a drink? Can't you make your own damn drinks yet? It's, you know, that's sort of the mind space to put you in. And like from then through to now, I fired up Grand Theft Auto 3 because I've only ever dicked around in it, doing like the riot cheat and stuff. So I actually did the missions in the story mode.
Oh, you're actually playing that game instead of just like running people over.
Yeah, actually got to the credits for the first time ever in GTA 3.
I still haven't finished that game. I'm the same. I've never done it. Like you always get in there and you try and get 5 stars. That's it. That's all I've ever done.
It's like, oh, I've got the army after me now.
Right.
Trying to swim to the other islands. Yeah, that's the thing.
But no, we fired up Kana, Bridge of Spirits. Gorgeous, amazing game. Loved that. Actually, related to the top-down shooter, the Zombies Ate My Neighbors Ghoul Patrol Double Pack re-release was reduced on PS4. So we grabbed that and was like, here's what games looked like when your dad was your age, kids. Isn't that great?
Like, wow, you are old, sort of thing. That's when you start getting them comments, you know.
Yeah, the thing to remember is it's not wasted time, because time, like making like it's like a palette cleanser. You can get experience, like you can play other games that you've not played before, and that's going to help build your knowledge of video games.
Me and Chris have had this conversation before, but like I sometimes get my best ideas when I just like leave it a week. Like I'll just be sat there and I'll just ponder on stuff, and like I'll be sat there watching TV and I'm like, that's a great idea, and I have to go and write it down. and stuff.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. If I'm just working on stuff all the time, it's just like you never get them moments of inspiration, really. So it's not a bad thing to have a break for that reason as well, because you have to think on these things and sleep on them and ponder.
Especially if it's bad shows like The Witcher. Like that gave me a lot of time to go
that bad?
internet shopping for things I need. And just the second series, it's just not vibing with me. And
okay,
yeah. Like,
well, don't tell me. I haven't watched it yet. So yeah.
Well, so, and little things can come up, like Grand Theft Auto 3. I was like, oh, I do want a rocket launcher, but how do you? Because I know how you hold a pistol. I know how you hold a shotgun machine gun. How do I make the rocket launcher look decent? And I'm playing GTA 3, and it's just up on the shoulder. I'm like,
on like that. Oh, okay.
That looks badass.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's this weird thing where I think I've got the energy back to where it needs to be. I'm kind of, in a way, I'm annoyed that I'm going back to the day job tomorrow, and that the time's ended. I'm hoping I do that thing where I carry the energy from work into something tomorrow night. I think if we were doing our usual time, because usually it would be about around the 10th, 11th.
Yeah. You probably would have had
slightly...
something to show.
Yeah.
I think so too.
The best thing I ever did was just get just look at a YouTube video, just follow it like a Bracky's video tutorial. Just get a capsule wandering around on the screen in Unity, and that's like
invigorates you.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Feels great.
Yeah, I because the way I've always done it, I do a similar thing, Sam, where like I just want to work on something creatively instead of, having to worry about like a whole game project sort of thing. Like my character controller, which I did before the game that I'm working on now, I just had her like jumping up and hanging on edges and getting up, and it was a Metroidvania character controller. That's all I did. Like I just did the animations in the grey box area, finished the character controller, cool, done, fixed, next, and it just moved on to the next thing. There was no grandiose goal to it. It was just, it gave me a creative output, and it also like helped me learn a bunch about character controllers and learning how to like code animation and how to cut animations down because they have to be more snappy because you're actually controlling a character and things like that. Like it allowed me to learn all that sort of stuff in a context. So instead of like, I don't know, like I'm not against you like going to RPG Maker. Like I know it might sound like I'm giving you a talking to for that. Like, I'm not. It's just like just don't lose focus of the end goal, which is like you want to finish your project and you want to put it out for people to buy and finish, and so like you shouldn't take your eye off that. So
I'm showing a video from Mark Brown, aka Game Maker's Toolkit, who I talk to on Discord sometimes and such as well. How he learned Unity without following tutorials. He essentially took like old simple games and tried to remake them, just like Google fooing his way around the mechanics and recreating that. And he said that was a good way because he actually got an understanding that he wasn't getting from tutorials, and that sounds like a fun idea. The other side of it, as he said, you want to make a game for people to buy. I don't know. And the reason I don't know is, so when I was making indie comics, I was taking them to conventions, I was selling them there, I was hemorrhaging about £400 a convention. By the time you've paid like travel, hotel, the table costs, printed the damn comics, all that, it's probably losing around about £400 a show. I saw it as Sam's far too expensive hobby to stroke his ego, right? HMRC saw it as a taxable self-employed income. And it took a while to divorce myself from that and be like, I'm not doing them anymore, I promise. You can stop asking me to do a self-assessment every year because I hate doing those. All I have to do is formally declare to you that I am an idiot when it comes to money, and I'm willing to just burn cash on this egotistical fucking waste of paper. And I don't know if I want that to happen, if I want to invite that with the game, or if I just do it and you know what, it's done and I chuck it up for free. I just let people have at it.
I think like I'm not really saying, not really in terms of like the financial gain or anything like that, or if you want to sell the game. I don't mean it like that. I mean, you want to finish a game. You want people to play it, obviously. Like that's why we make these things. We don't just make them so we play it ourselves. Like we make it
survive in a vacuum. Yeah.
Right.
See, and even that I don't know about, because like I finish a YouTube video and I feel great about finishing the YouTube video, and then I upload it. And that's where the problem starts, because I start checking on here for the stats and like the views and the comments and the audience retention and all that. I feel like shit. It's to the point that one of the options I considered when I said I was stepping back from YouTube was maybe finishing the video and then just not uploading it, just leaving it sitting on my hard drive. You know what? It's done. I made the video. Just
like
not actually
that you never send.
I mean, the good thing about games, though, I guess, is like a game takes on average about 24 months on average, like for an indie game anyway, for a small indie game. Most of the time it takes 3 years, I would say, for an indie game to get finished. So like imagine if you made one YouTube video every 3 years, like that is a bit more sustainable in terms of like you constantly checking the stats and stuff like that, because you sort of get over that hump after a couple of months of a game being out. Like you stop looking at the stats and you stop looking at that sort of stuff, and then you just focus on the next thing. So it's a lot more manageable in that, just through the process of how long a video game takes and like how much time it takes. It's just like that sort of fixes itself. So that's the good thing. Like if you're comparing games development to making content for YouTube anyway, because YouTube, like
that's a good point.
As you both know,
so different.
Yeah, the time frame is just, we're talking completely different scales here.
That may change it. That may well have an influence on it. I think it'll just be very interesting to see where I'm at in the next episode of Sam's quarterly crisis of confidence.
But it's good. It's good.
It's a valid point.
Every dev goes through that. No, it's never all like sunshine and buttercups for everyone the whole time. Everyone needs that. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Reassess. Change huge, massive things, or like, just ditch it and do something else. Like those big decisions, they need time, and you need to feel like crap, and you get out the other side of it, and you're better for it at the end of it.
I mean, for solo development in particular, like the mental hurdles that you have to go through to finish a game by yourself is it's completely different. Like if you've got one other person with you, it completely changed the dynamic of the game, like, no pun intended, but like in terms of like how you actually make the game, like you're constantly bouncing ideas off each other. If you've got a problem, you can talk it through with them, all that sort of stuff, which is sort of what this podcast is for, I guess, is sort of mitigate that as much as possible. But the mental hurdles that you have to go through for that is just a completely different thing compared to what I do in my day job, which I work in a massive AAA studio where there's masses of teams that are working on any one problem at any one time that you can constantly get in touch with and figure these things out. But for a solo developer, you don't have that. It's just that you're just there, and you've got to think about this sort of stuff. So
I know. Here's what I know. I know I want to make a game.
Mm-hmm.
I know I want to make the kind of game that I enjoy playing, and I like both top-down shooters and I like RPGs. So this is fine. So far, so good. I like pixel art. So far, so good. Stop grimacing.
I'm just listening. Go
on. And I know I enjoy, generally speaking, I enjoy the creative process. Right. I enjoy making art. I enjoy putting things together. I enjoy problem solving. A lot of coding is problem solving.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. So I want to make a game. I want to finish it. I want to have that project under my belt. What I don't enjoy is marketing and promotion and taxes and publishing contracts and all that. And I think that's partly why I keep going back to this idea of maybe I do just put it on itch.io and just leave it at that. And maybe that's why me sitting here going, I'm going to discount RPG Maker and say it's invalid because it's got a stigma, because it can only publish to Steam, because I can't put it on consoles, because. But when I look at the motivations for making a game, all of those reasons against RPG Maker become invalid.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, the only, I guess, like, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to say like you should be thinking ahead so you can sell the product later on. It's more to do with the fact that if you say you do make an awesome game and like like most, like, to be blunt about this, like the first game that everyone makes normally tanks. Like it is very rare that anyone like
I'm
puts out
expecting to make ploppers, yeah.
right. Like, and that's generally the case for everyone. It's not, that isn't a unique thing. It's just how it is.
And it's regardless of how good a game is as well. It's because of those challenges of like selling to publishers and getting exposure and marketing and
and on top of the fact that nobody knows who you are and things like that, and you've got to gain an audience. It takes time.
This is the worst thing I've ever written and drawn.
Well, it's your first comic, so yeah. I mean, this is the thing though. Like, you've got to.
That was only marginally better.
So yeah, you just need to go through that process with game in dev. So yeah, you have your first flop on
like
edge.
the thing. Yeah, when it comes to your first game, this is all valid. Like, absolutely. But like the thing that I'm thinking about is your second game or like your third game. What if the game is amazing and you've locked off
the second game,
right? You've locked off like where you can like actually get it out and stuff. That's the thing that I'm thinking about.
I'm not thinking about the commercial opportunity and lopping stuff off. I'm thinking about the personal opportunity. So in that, if I do just stick to my comfort blanket of RPG Maker and I don't learn C# and I don't get to grips with Unity and I don't stick with the top-down shooter, my personal growth is also stunted immediately. So that's why the top-down shooter remains on the table. Yeah, like that's absolutely non-negotiable. The top-down shooter is staying on the table.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why I'm sort of pushing for like you to probably look at Game Maker Studio, because I think that you'd be a lot more comfortable in that engine anyway. Not for like commercial use or anything like that. It's just more to do with, I think you'll be a lot more comfortable there, if that makes sense.
It's on Humble Bundle right now for another 6 days for £18.61p.
Grab it, try it.
Have a think. Have a think. Yeah,
I would grab it, try it, just go through one tutorial on YouTube and just see if you jam with it. If you do, then I would strongly recommend you go to that, especially if you are like if you're not doing any 3D and like you're like completely, because I remember the thing that triggered like the Game Maker Studio stuff is like the animation system kind of reminded me of like old school RPG Maker, and like I remember playing around with it and like, oh yeah, this does kind of feel like that. That's why I mentioned it. But
the only thing that would sort of take me away from Game Maker and back towards, sorry, I'm probably taking this way over time.
It's all good.
And back towards Unity is that Game Maker doesn't necessarily do 3D models, and I was thinking it might be nice to some of the boss fights. I talked about going up against a helicopter and a mech and stuff. Make those as maybe low poly 3D models and something like Crocodile. Right. And then bring that into Unity, because it would still be in the aesthetic. It would probably also cut down on the workload, but also make the bosses pop a bit more. It'd provide contrast to those enemies. Yeah.
No, that'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, you could just play around with all the engines, because I think because I meet people all the time that work on in Unreal and they prefer it to Unity, and then there's people that work in Game Maker Studio that prefer it over Unity, and Unity is just like king for everyone else. Like, it's just everyone's different. You'll find certain things, but I mean, you just don't want to restrict yourself too much with where you can put it on. That's the only thing, because not for a commercial thing. It's more to do with like when the game comes out and you finish it and like, wow, I'm really proud of this. I want as many people to play it as possible. Not for the money or like the ego stroke or anything like that. It's just I want to make it accessible, and I think that's the main reason why I mentioned like to try and get away from RPG Maker commercially anyway.
We're not talking about accessibility. We're talking about availability.
Availability, sorry, the game being accessible in terms of like
an audience,
people that can get it, all play it,
not in
in terms of color blindness, right?
In terms of proper accessibility, I think my first couple of releases are going to be shocking,
right?
But that's what I would do. I'd get that, play it, like do a YouTube tutorial, get something moving. Do the same with Unity, just get something moving, and then you'll get a feel for it, and you'll use your gut more than your brain.
Yeah, I think so too.
And possibly the plus side with mainly doing pixel arty games anyway is the majority of them can run on a potato.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. No, that is.
So
that
in
is
terms
the
of
good thing.
availability, that's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Game Maker Studio is no joke either. Like people make some awesome like Hyperlight Drifter is one of my favorite indie games of all time.
Spelunky.
Spelunky is
I
amazing.
will keep coming back to Spelunky.
Yeah, great games. And like you really don't need that much code in. It's got a built-in animation system. It's got its own pixel art animation, like its own pixel art like editing tool within the engine. Sort of nuts. Okay. But yeah, I would seriously consider trying it out, Sam. I think it would jam with you pretty well, especially if you're only ever interested in 2D games, which I think you are. So, but unless you go with the 3D boss fights, but I don't know. Yeah, it's an option.
Okay. But we should maybe think about.
Yeah, we should wrap this up. It's been 2 hours. Damn.
Sorry.
No. It was, I'm glad we had the conversation. Yeah, it was a valid thing to talk about.
A good 45 minutes of existential crisis.
Yeah, you need. Yeah.
It's a part of the deal. So
yeah.
But yeah, if you did make it all the way to the end, thank you very much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. We'll be here again next month to sort of give updates on where we are. Sam will have more than any of us, so you gotta look forward to like Sam's like almost finished game. I think.
Journey into the unknown.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Obviously, that's not probably what's going to happen because January is always a. It's always a. I don't know how do we put this politely. Yeah, it's a bit of a month. No. That's for sure. Like it's not the most productive.
January is made for breaking New Year's resolutions.
That's fair. That is very fair. And my resolution this year is not to finish a game because I don't want to break that one. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
do not put make a commercial game into your New Year's resolutions. It never happens.
No.
So don't do it.
No.
Don't.
Yeah, good advice. But where can we find everyone's profiles if they want to keep up to date with their games, if they're posting it on social media? Let's go with you first, Sam. Where can we see what you're going to be doing?
At SJ Webster Art.
At SJ Webster Art, and that's on Twitter.
That's Twitter.
Yep.
It's pretty much just that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
And you, Vin?
Yep, you can find me at Hillfort Games on Twitter. I'm also on. There's an Instagram thing which I probably should start posting to more, but I don't really keep up with Instagram if I'm honest. Like I've only got like 50 followers on that. But yeah, at Hillfort Games on Twitter is where you can find most of my indie dev stuff. That's where I post the most. And where can people find you, Chris?
So I'm at Acrylic Pixel on Twitter, and my Acrylic Pixel YouTube channel, just like you, Sam, it's kind of taken a nosedive since I started doing the game. So
it's not a bad thing.
Just Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, focus on the right thing, I guess.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that sort of garbage. You know how YouTube works. If you don't, then why are you here?
I know how YouTube works. That's why I got out.
Right, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hate saying all that sort of stuff anyway, but yeah, you know how it works. Yeah. We appreciate any sort of feedback or anything like that. And if you are a solo developer, then please subscribe and say hi because like we're in the same boat. So yeah, if you've got any questions or anything, then we're happy to sort of answer those and chip through them on the next episode if you do have any. So
and, a special thanks to Richard Savage for being the one person who gives us 100% audience retention every week.
Indeed.
Well, every month.
Every month.
Say.
Yep, every month.
Thank you.
Yeah. Indeed. So until next time. Ta-ta.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.